Today we are painting a red barn in winter. We'll be using the vignette style. I love the simple and strong contrast of the white paper. Take your spray bottle, spray your pans of paint, put some water in your palette. Now, in this painting, I did make a template of the red barn, and here it is. And so you will want to make your template and put it in about the middle of the page. Take your liner brush and we will be tracing the template with some crimson and a touch of cadmium red. And start on the side here. Don't do the roof yet. When we get to the roof, we're going to switch colors. So clean your brush. And take your brush and take some white. And we want to put some white on our palette. Now, the roof has snow on it, so we want it to be white with a little bit of a blue hue. So let's put some white on our palette. And then clean your brush a little bit and take a dab of ultramarine blue off to the side there, and then take some of your white. And we want to lighten that. And then go ahead and trace the roof. Now that seems a little strong, but we're gonna thin it out, spread that paint. And, you know, if it's still strong, I'm going to dab it a little bit. Just a little bit like that, and then use some more water to lighten that shade there. Like that. Okay. Now let's load our brush with some more of that crimson and cadmium red. Now we want to make a light wash here. And we'll be adding some more definition later. And I like to leave a little white line there. And might use that white, or we might fill that in. Take your time and take the time you need to enjoy it. And don't feel rushed. Now I notice my paint started to spread here a little bit, and I'm just going to dab it so the red doesn't go too much into the roof there. Then continue to create a light wash for this whole red barn. It's out in the country. and spread that paint. Okay. Now let's talk about what's going to be around this red barn. And we want that wash to dry a little bit. So you can always work on one area of the painting and then go back to another area. And that will give the time for this to dry. Now, this red barn, there's some trees in the background, some forest. And the colors tend to run green to blue. So let's take our liner brush. Actually, you want to use our bigger brush because it's going to be a little bit of a bigger area. So pick up your round with pointed tip brush. And let's take some sap green. Now, the trees start about right here. And we don't want to go all the way to the edge of the paper. So we just want to leave some space between the edge and the trees. So let's go about right there. Now let's put some on the other side. Just faintly. These are not going to be quite as big. Now behind those trees, there's some more trees and almost a mountain, little lowland mountain. So let's take some of our intense blue and mix a little bit of the sap green in it. And then go ahead above the forest. Now if the colors run, experiment with that. That's okay. I want mine to be a little bit more blue. So I'm going to add a little more blue. And it comes right against the barn there. Now if it seems too strong, again you can dab it. Seems a little strong. Take some of the paint out and kind of mix it around and let it run into some of the green. Now let's take some of that color and put some on the other side. Like so. Okay. Now, that seems a little bright to me, so to kind of not make it, it's more of a duller kind of bluish green, so let's add a touch of burnt umber with it. Burnt sienna, excuse me. I want it to be kind of more of an olive green. Yeah, that's a little better. It kind of makes it not like a sea green, but more. Okay, let's give that a good dry. Now I noticed some of this puddled up, and I'm going to just dab it, give it some texture, like that. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now, this is a winter scene, and we want to use some of that space to leave completely white, like pure white snow. But when you look at snow, there's a lot of shadows that are cast. So we're going to paint some of those in, but first we're going to put a little fence here and a tree on this side of the barn. So let's use our liner brush with that and use our browns here and take some burnt sienna and some burnt umber. I like to use both the browns, both very nice colors. And I'm going to just put a kind of broken down fence here. And if your brush is too wet, you can use your paper towel. That paint is a little bit too much water. I want more paint. So I want a stronger line there. That's better. Now let's make that tree. Tree is going to be about right here. And since it's winter, there's no leaves on that tree. It's just bare branches. Making my tree tall. And then need to make the trunk a little bit thicker. A few more of the branches coming off here. Like so. Okay, let's work on the barn. Let's take our liner brush and mix cadmium red with some of the crimson. And let's change that color and add a touch of burnt sienna. And let's start up here. Now on this barn, there's 2 windows. And there's my 2 windows right there. And let's bring that line down and spread some of that, more of that paint. So there's my 2 windows. I want to leave some of the lighter wash exposed, like that. Now let's go to the other side of the barn here. And there's another window up here peeking out. And then bring it down this way and make a triangle. And spread some more of that paint. And again, leaving some of the lighter color. And then about right here, we're going to put a wreath. It's winter time and it's getting close to Christmas, so we need to put a wreath. So clean your brush and let's load our brush with sap green. And put a little wreath right here. Some of that paint is spreading, but that's okay. And remember, this is just a piece of paper. And I've worked with many clients and they'll say, oh, I'm going to ruin it. Not going to ruin it. It's just a piece of paper. And it's a journey and it's fun. Now let's bring some more of this color. Now below this wreath is a door. And so we want to, the door is right underneath the wreath like that. So let's spread some of the colors on each side of that door. Can you continue down this way? And with watercolor, it's a lot of layering. I'm going to leave that a little light, but I think I need to stop and give it a good dry before I do any more on this barn. Okay. So let's go back and make some more definition on this triangle in the door. Again, we're using cadmium red, a touch of crimson, and some of the burnt umber. We want to make that color a little darker. Make it more of a rustic. And put some definition on the side of the door here. And on this triangle here. A little bit above the wreath. Some more down here. Spread that paint. Now we need some of that darkness on the other side here. Could be a little darker, so let's add a touch of burnt umber. And put some underneath here and create some more contrast here. So you see some different colors pop out. And have fun with this. Now we need to put a little bit on the door here underneath the wreath. So let's add some there. Now on this wreath, we need to add some berries. Usually you see like some almost the color of cranberry. So let's clean your brush. And we want to just add some straight crimson, and we want more paint than water. And just some little dots. Just some little dots. Like that. Okay. Now, I see that on the windows, I want to add a little blue tinge to it. So I have some light blue here on my palette. And I'm just going to put some of that color in the windows. Like that. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now the tree here, I notice it it kind of ran and it's not very strong. So we need to work on that area. And I want to make another dark layer. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and clean your brush and just use burnt umber. And just go in that area and strengthen, like there's a shadow on the tree. And some of that fuzzy line will go away in your watercolor. And a lot of times you'll find that you don't need much. It just needs a little touch up. And one of the common things I hear about watercolor is that it's easy to overdo it. Okay, now let's look at the fence here. That can use some of the dark areas. So again, let's use straight umber, more paint than water, and put some shadows that are casting on the fence. Just a little bit. You don't need much. Now, let's work on some of that snow. Now, the roof is covered with snow. And when I look at snow, you see shades of light blue to purple, and sometimes the reflection of whatever is around. So there might even be some reflection of the barn, some little bit of the red. But let's start with some blue. Need to put some more white on my palette. And then let's want to use the ultramarine blue. It's a little darker blue. We don't want that bright blue. More of a grayish blue. And put some of that color by the fence. And a little bit by the other tree. And then take your brush and just by adding water and spread it, and it will dilute the color a little bit. And let's put some by the barn. Now, the color ran a little bit, that's okay. Some of it is reflecting in the snow. You know, there's wonderful things in nature that happen, that you can't even paint. So, you know, who knows? It could be somewhere happening in this world. Let's put some over here by the trees. Bring that. And just give it a good spread here. Add a little more here by the tree. The shadow is a little bit longer. Bring some of that up, like that. And then stop and pause and look at your painting. Now I see right here, there's some kind of fuzzy lines and my eye is drawn to it. And I'm just going to take my brush and use some water and spread the paint and make that line disappear. Like that. And sometimes you don't see the lines until after the paint is really dry. Watercolor paper can be damp and not completely dry, and it will change as it dries. And that's one of the interesting, fascinating things that I love working with watercolor. Remember, this is your creation. This is something you can do what you want. And it's your creation, your thought. Okay. I'm going to put my brush down and stop for a minute. I think maybe the roof could have a little definition, not much, just a tiny bit of some shadow. So again, I'm using my white here and a touch of ultramarine blue. Don't need much. A little go a long ways. Just kind of some dark spots like that. Doesn't need much. Little goes a long ways. Yeah, I like that. Play with it. Okay, now that I look at it, I have one area I want to work on the barn here a little bit. I want to make the door stand out. So I'm going to put a little more of the dark color here. So the door will stand out. Just like that. And again, a lot of times you just don't need much. Just like that. Now there could be a little more definition in the shadow. Like about right here and there. And another shade. A little darker shade of a blue, almost a purple. Again, taking some of my white, putting it on my palette. And a touch of the blue. And just a touch of crimson. Crimson is a very strong color. You don't want to add too much. Just put some little bit here. That's starting to run too much, but I'm just going to dab it a little. No problem. Just dab it like that. Just put a little more. And you just, lightly dab. If you feel your grip tightening, just take a deep breath. And just release that nervous energy. Just adding some dabs, a dab here, a dab there, goes a long way. And if you think that something is too dark, just dip your brush in water and you can dilute that. So I'm going to just do that to all the little areas here. Just a little bit. And call that good. I like my barn. If I was in the country, I would have fun spending time in the snow in the barn, sipping on some hot cocoa. I love painting winter scenes. I hope you enjoyed it too. See you next time.